All right, so we're going to jump straight into a story that, honestly, it sounds more like a thriller than something out of a history book. We're going back to the 13th century, and you've got a young noblewoman planning a secret, dead-of-night escape, defying her incredibly powerful family, and risking literally everything for an idea that would change everything.
But before we get into all the crazy details, I want to ask you something. Seriously, think about it. What would you be willing to give up for an idea you believed in with your entire being? I mean, your comfort, security, what your family thinks of you? Just keep that question in the back of your mind because that's what this whole story is really about. Okay, so picture this. The year is 1212. We're in Assisi, Italy. And our main character is Claire, an 18-year-old from a wealthy, noble family. And her life? It's basically all planned out for her. You know, a strategic marriage to some other noble, a life filled with riches, high status, the whole 9 yards for that era. Except Claire had very different plans. And this is where it gets really wild. Just look at the two paths in front of her. On one hand, you've got the life everyone expects her to live. Noble marriage, tons of wealth, you name it. But on the other hand is the life she chooses, inspired by this super charismatic preacher, Francis of Assisi. And it is the polar opposite. Instead of marriage, chastity. Instead of wealth, radical poverty. I mean, owning absolutely nothing. She was completely rejecting everything her world valued. And this right here, this is the spark. These words from the gospel, Francis took them literally. Like literally. And it started a whole movement. When Claire heard this, it wasn't just, some nice, inspiring thought. For her, it was a direct order, a mission. And she was about to follow it no matter what it cost her.
So, the big question is, how does an 18-year-old noblewoman just leave? How do you escape a life you were born into? Well, for Claire, this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision. Oh no, this was a full-on, meticulously planned escape. And she chose the perfect night for it. Palm Sunday, one of the biggest holy days of the year. It was totally calculated.
I mean, can you just imagine the tension? She's in church, surrounded by her family, everyone's celebrating Palm Sunday, getting their olive branches, and Claire, she just stands there, motionless. The plan is already in motion. The bishop, who was in on the whole thing, actually comes over to give her an olive branch himself. Wow, this is it. Her last public moment as Claire the noblewoman. Her heart must have been absolutely pounding out of her chest.
And then, later that night, it all goes down. First, she puts on her best clothes, her most expensive jewels. It's like she's saying goodbye to that whole life. Then, get this. Instead of just walking out the front door, she forces her way through this heavy, blocked-up side door. Talk about symbolism, right? Breaking with your past. Outside, Francis and his buddies are waiting for her with torches. And right there, in the dark, the transformation happens. Off come the jewels, the beautiful dress is swapped for a rough, scratchy robe. And then, the final act, they cut off her long hair. That was it. No turning back now. But hold on, because this story is far from over. You think she's safe, right? She escapes and takes shelter in a convent, but you don't just walk away from a family like hers. Not in the 13th century. They were absolutely furious. And it wasn't just because they missed their daughter. No, she was a political pawn, a valuable asset. And you better believe they were coming to get her back. Sure enough, just a few days later, they find her. Her family shows up at the convent, and they are not there for a friendly chat. We're talking armed, angry relatives ready to drag her home by force if they have to. To them, what she did was a massive dishonor, a stain on the family name. So they confront her, demanding she come home. But Claire's response? It's just so powerful. She absolutely refuses. She makes it crystal clear she is not going anywhere. Then she runs into the church and pulls a move that just completely stops them cold. This was her ultimate power play. She grabs onto the altar cloths, basically claiming sanctuary, right? The protection of the church. But then she rips the veil from her head to show them her hair, or what's left of it, the shorn hair. It was like a visual mic drop. It screamed, "I don't belong to you anymore. I belong to God." That physical change proved their power over her was gone. They had no choice but to leave. Okay, so you think the family's been defeated, right? Well, think again. Just when you think things might come down, the drama kicks up another notch. About 2 weeks later, Claire's younger sister, Catherine, does the exact same thing. She's so inspired, she runs away to join Claire. And this time, the family goes nuclear. And this leads to a scene that is just beyond belief. The family comes back, but this time they're not messing around. They bring a dozen armed men, led by their uncle, a guy named Monaldo, who is just seething with rage. The plan? Drag Catherine home, period. So, how on earth do 2 young women stand up to 12 angry guys with swords?
Well, according to the story, this is where things get miraculous. The men grab Catherine, right? They're trying to drag her away, but her body suddenly becomes as heavy as lead. We're talking a dozen strong, armed guys, and they literally cannot move her. They're pulling, they're straining, nothing. It's like she's made of stone. Her uncle, Monodaldo, is just furious and confused. He completely loses it and raises his hand to hit her. But before his hand can connect, this sudden, agonizing pain shoots up his arm, and it just freezes in midair. So now you've got an immovable girl and a paralyzed uncle. The men just freak out. They see this as some kind of divine sign, and they run for it. The sisters, they want. So after all that violence and drama, Francis realizes these sisters need a safe place, a real home. So he brings them to this small, rundown church just outside of town called San Damiano. And this little place, it's about to become the center of Clare's entire world, the start of something totally new.
Now, to really get how revolutionary Clare's idea was, you have to understand what a convent or a cloister was like back then. Basically, it meant you were locked away. The walls were like a fortress, meant to keep the sinful world out, but also to keep the nuns hidden from the world.
But this is where Clare just flips the script completely. She takes that whole idea of being walled in and turns it on its head. For her, the walls of San Damiano weren't a prison. They were more like a laboratory, a protected space where she could build a brand new kind of life, a life based on equality, poverty, and being free from all the stuff society expected of you.
And here's what that actually looked like. Inside those walls, you had noble women and peasant women living side by side as total equals. I mean, that was just unheard of. They owned nothing, zero. They depended completely on what other people gave them. And instead of hiding, Clare saw her community as a beacon, a light on a hill. She believed their way of life could actually change the world outside. The wall wasn't to keep the world out, it was to create a space to find something deeper.
So Clare of Assisi spent the rest of her days inside the walls of San Damiano. She never, ever left. But her influence, it went everywhere. She even argued with popes to protect her vision of poverty. And she started a movement that's still going strong today. Which kind of leaves us with this one last big question to think about. Is it possible that sealing yourself off from the world, this radical act of withdrawal, can actually become a new way to see it? Can a wall, in the end, actually be a window?